thought she had to go out and do something. All right, we'll call to order this March 12th meeting of the Nelson County Board of Supervisors. If you will, please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge. Thank you. Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we have, in addition to the agenda, we're going to start off by bringing up Jerry West. Parks and Rec has a new employee introduction. Mr. West.
Thank you all for having us today. Today we'd like to introduce our new recreation specialist that was recently hired for Nelson County Parks and Recreation. Jacob Floyd, he started with the department this past Friday on March 8th. Jacob's a Nelson native. He participated in our programs as a youth and is now excited to oversee them in a professional role. He will graduate in May from Liberty University, where he's finishing up his last class online for a degree in sports and recreation management. He is also currently helping coach varsity baseball at Nelson County High School this spring. It was a very intense interview process, and we're excited to have Jacob on board with us. We feel he's going to do some great work with us. He knows a lot of people around the county, which is a big help, and just his drive and new ideas that we've already seen, we're excited to start moving forward. So,
Very good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, glad to have you. All right. Next, we will move on to public comments, and I will remind the public that you have 3 minutes to speak. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, please state the name of the group. Only one member of the group will be allowed to speak as representing the group. Please be aware of the time. Mr. Reed will be keeping time and letting you know when you have 30 seconds left. And we will start with Hank Gibb from Nellis Ford. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Hank Gibb. I'm a resident of Nellis Ford, 1180 Stony Creek East. I'm an Aqua customer, and I represent the Aqua customers in Nellis Ford. We Aqua customers appreciate the board's interest in our efforts taking issue with Aqua's request for a rather onerous rate increase. And we appreciate Supervisor Reed's efforts to get this before the board and give us a hearing. I'm not going to rehash a lot of information that has been provided to you previously and particularly in January by John Tanny. As you know, we're a small part of Aqua in Virginia. We're 450 customers. And Aqua is requesting an overall statewide revenue increase of 34% for water and 21% for sewer. That's about $6.97 million they want. However, our rates at Wintergreen are going to go up 52% and 25% respectively. We feel strongly that the increase is not justified and supported, and that the notification in and of itself was defective and should be withdrawn. We're pushing back, we're questioning the increase, we're building a case, we're mounting a comments campaign. Up to this point in time, we've put in 150 comments out of the 450 customers that we represent. We would like to add a letter of comment from Nelson County, a comment similar to that that has been submitted by the counties of Middlesex and Powhatan, copies which I'll leave with you, and I've already given those to her. We're simply asking the Nelson County support for the concern about fair treatment of a portion of its residents. Treatment that should have offered clear and concise notifications and justification, without which the application for the state rate increase is defective and should be withdrawn. We thank you for your time. Your support of our efforts is much appreciated, and we are encouraged that the board may act favorably upon our request for a letter of response to the FCC. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have William Piercy.
Excuse me, William Piercy, 608 Fortune's Cove in Livingston. I'd like to request that the board reconsider the program to use speed control in the school zones via the video cameras. I know that there is another company that's also interested in addressing the subject to the board. And that would be an opportunity for the board to look at a competitive type of a scenario comparing another company's program. And theirs includes also the school bus stop arm enforcement. So they have cameras on the school buses as well for violators to go around the arm, stop arm. I believe that, that we should consider this as a safety program to reduce the speed in the school zones during that time of the day. Just to make it clear that there was quite a debate about whether the county would be responsible for those violators that don't comply or don't pay the fee. And I think maybe that was some confusion that led to the denial on the previous program. And then two, it affords us an opportunity to look at a competitive bid. The second topic, is been on my mind is concerning the intersection Highway 29 and Cali Hill. That the board would consider the proposal to VDOT for the what they call it? It is smart scale evaluation. We're about to enter the time where the different intersections or areas that could be considered, that they would consider an overpass at 29 and Cali Hill, particularly in light of the fact that the Cali Hill Business Park is going to add quite a bit of traffic to that intersection. And in light of the Thomas Jefferson District has also proposed, and I believe that the county has made a resolution to go in with partnership with Thomas Jefferson, that might be an area where additional funding could go into a project of that nature, as large as it obviously would be. But just to make a request or plea of the board to consider that as a proposal to VDOT to consider the study of that intersection as an overpass instead of that R-cut idea that we denied year before last, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Steve Bain.
Steve Bain, 620 Far Knob Climb, Ellisford. I have the following summary request regarding the fiscal budget and process. Number one, please ensure Nelson County lives within its means with respect to expenditures and debt. Number two, please partner with Nelson County Schools. Do not just write a blank check. Number three, please ensure we have fiscally responsible reserves for operating and CapEx requirements. Please overall ensure that Nelson County is efficient for its residents and your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone not signed up that would like to speak during public comments? If not, we will close the public comment section and move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled out separately? If not, I will entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Jessica, did you have any clarifying comments on anything? No? Okay. Mr. Chair, if there is no comments, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
we will take a vote by acclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Consent agenda is approved. Thank you. Next, we have proclamation. Let's see, sorry, deep packet here.
Mr. Chair, I have it. Here you go.
Thank you. You want to just read it?
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, please. You could. Mr. Rutherford, if you will read, we have proclamation American Red Cross Month, P 2024-01.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the following proclamation, P 2024-01, Nelson County Board of Supervisors March is American Red Cross Month. Whereas during American Red Cross Month in March, we recognize the compassion of people in Nelson County and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. And whereas this generous spirit is woven into the fabric of our community and advances the humanitarian legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, one of the most honored women in our country's history, who notably dedicated herself to alleviating suffering. And whereas today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Barton's commitment as they step up through your American Red Cross Central Virginia chapter to provide a beacon of hope for our neighbors in need. And whereas through their voluntary and selfless contributions, they make a life-saving difference in people's darkest hours. More than 250 Red Cross volunteers provided 134 Central Virginia families with shelter, food, and comfort after a home fire, helped collect and process more than 18,000 blood donations for hospital patients, supported hundreds of military families, veterans, and caregivers through the unique challenge of service, and helped save lives through providing nearly 14,000 residents with first aid, CPR, and other skills training. And whereas the Nelson County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes month of March in honor of all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need. And we ask everyone to join in this commitment to strengthen our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Nelson County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Red Cross Month. We encourage all citizens of Nelson County, Virginia, to reach out and support its humanitarian mission. Mr. Chairman, that's my motion.
Very good. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a vote by acclamation. All those in favor of proclamation P 2024-01 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. All right, next up, we have presentations. First up is VDOT report.
Thank you, Chairman Parr. Just to report on a few of our activities that we've been going on and doing and some studies. I'll just do a quick update on some of the things we've been talking about. The traffic count, traffic study on 151, as I reported last month, that data has been collected. It's still in raw form, but our traffic engineers, they are reviewing the counts. They are reviewing the previous speed studies for differences, just to do some evaluations. And in talking with our T&E folks today, they do hope to have that completed in April. Have a final conclusion of that count. I have not gotten the results or the recommendations back from extending the 45 mile per hour speed limit on Route 29 south of Livingston. I have not gotten that back. I have found out we are working on a pedestrian study on Route 29 here in Livingston at the Main Street intersection. I think they've got some good data back on that, and it appears to be a whole lot more pedestrians crossing there than originally thought. So they are working on coming up with some recommendations with that. Just to give you an update on Route 674 Jennings Creek, that pipe or culvert or structure has been ordered. It has to be fabricated, but I do expect that to be coming in soon. It should be in toward the 1st of April, and we're looking at maybe a couple of weeks to get it installed and have that road reopened. We have not completed the signage for the truck restriction at the Tower River Road underpass. Those signs have not been Still have not got no signs yet. They were ordered, but hopefully they will be in soon and we can complete that project right there. So I know that's something, Mr. Bard was passionate about, and, so we are gonna get that completed. And, we have been, I don't know if you've been up 151 much lately, up toward 250. We are doing a good brush cutting operation up there, cutting that road back, improving sight distances and entrances. I was up there last week, and it's a slow go. We're making good progress, but that's going to be enhancement to that roadway to get that brush cut back to where you have better lines of sight on that road. I think everybody's going to like that. And lastly, Kenny, we need to set a date for the public hearing. The secondary road 6-year plan, FY 25 through 30, 6-year plan public hearing. Typically, we do that in May. Of course, it being a public hearing, we have to go through the advertisement at least 2 weeks in advance in the local paper and advertise it. So, if we keep the same date that we had last year, that would put it on, I think, May 14th. May 14th, if that's the board's pleasure.
We can look to have the board authorize that public hearing at the April meeting for the May 14th meeting.
Okay, we've got some time. But yeah, I just wanted to make that known. So anyway, that is really all of the report I have. Okay.
All right, anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Brown?
Yes, I got, we need to still pick a date to
Yes.
meet on that. If you could shoot me an email, there's another couple roads. We might as well make a field trip out of it, on Laurel and, down Peavine. Also, related to that was on the Front Street, you had indicated that there's nothing that can be done to slow it down further or mediate some of the speeders who are coming through. I know, other than the sheriff's office setting up 45, or 35 is about all it's gonna be.
Yes.
And the four-way stop isn't a possibility.
No, our traffic engineers did not agree to a four-way stop.
Got it.
They did not feel like it was necessary.
Sure.
And, yeah, they would not agree to that.
A
Gotcha.
four-way stop where? At
Down
Front and Main?
Front and Main, they were running into a lot of issues right there.
Well, one thing that would help is if we did a better job of making sure no one parks in front of the antique store,
On the
where it's no
park there.
parking area. But that, when you pop over that hill, when you're sitting, looking up
Yeah.
towards the courthouse, southbound traffic
Okay.
right there, if someone's parked in front of the store in that no parking zone,
You
that's
can't see
a
anything.
line of sight problem.
Yeah, I don't know, it might have been when I left the board meeting last time on big RV sitting right there.
Yeah.
RV sitting right there.
Yeah.
So,
I guess that would be Sheriff's Department enforcement?
oh, yeah,
Okay.
sure, yeah, state police.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, whatever opportunities you could see with that intersection, and also with the smart scale, I do believe Calla Hill is that still gonna be looked at potentially with the number of fatalities that have happened there? The
Calla Hill.
intersection over here at Calla Hill on 29.
Well, I don't know,
What
we've
the
got
scoring
Carson
is.
here, that was part of the corridor study, so I don't know if, Carson, is that under, any update on? That's the.
The stoplight.
The
Right
stoplight.
here, the traffic signal on,
Okay. Please send correspondence on that.
yeah, I don't know what his plan right now, I've looked at it, but I really don't remember what the recommendations were. I know it wasn't on overpass.
Gotcha, I understand. All right, thank you.
Mr. Harvey, anything? Dr. Ligon?
Got one thing. First of all, excellent report. Thank you for bringing us up to date on all that. Appreciate it. I've had a request from the residents along Old Ridge Road up by the Woods Ridge Farm Brewery. That's Route 700. I believe about 4 or 5 years ago, We talked about the possibility of getting that road paved. Because it has been a long time ago, I tried to find my notes on it and I couldn't find it. So I can't really remember the process by which that is something that would be considered. You know, there was a time when Old Ridge Road was actually a pass-through. It has been for a very long time, and now they've got an HOA that deals with the many residents that are back there now that have to take Old Ridge Road to get back to their homes. And so I just wanted to check in on that, get it on your list of things to recount, and let me know if there's any possibility in starting to look at having that happen.
We looked at that, a few years ago, and I remember looking at it. I don't believe there's a designated right-of-way in there, a platted right-of-way, I'm not sure, I'd have to go back and look. But that would be really the only avenue for having any part of that road become a state-maintained road would be going to our revenue sharing program. This year we're doing smart scale, and next year we'll do revenue sharing. You know, the county could apply for revenue sharing on behalf of that HOA. And it doesn't have to be the entire road, it could do any portion. But that's really the best option.
Yeah. I believe up to Laurel Lane, because, you know, most of the residences are then beyond that.
Yeah, most of them are beyond that.
But that stretch of road, which is accessed by everybody,
Yes.
is a continuing problem for them.
Yeah.
And cost.
I'll pull up my notes too. I've got a file somewhere on it, because, I don't know if I met you up there, if I just went up there and looked at it, but I do remember, questioning, was there any designated platted right of way? I remember, after you get on in closer to Laurel Lane, there would most likely be some utility conflicts. I mean, there's a lot of obstacles, but nothing, you know, we overcome obstacles.
Let's keep in touch and see if we need to look into that. Revenue sharing is not.
I would ask, if Candy, can we have someone check to see if there's an established platted right of way in there? That would be a good piece of the puzzle to start with.
Sure, we can do that. We can also pull up the previous minutes where this was discussed.
If I
as
recall,
well. We can dig those out for you.
if I recall, it was a couple $100,000 to get the improvement done.
That was probably per mile, probably.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. In 2018.
So double it.
Tripled it.
Okay, well, let's take a look.
We did do it again.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You mentioned the May 24 six-year plan. Do you want any notes on roads we'd like to add to be considered for that now, or is that something we would do in May?
Well, that would be May 14th. May
Okay.
14th. Certainly, any additions that you would have for us to consider, new roads, just to refresh your memory, you know, we do the 6-year plan, but we also have a secondary list, which is called the rural rustic unpaved road list. And when we get requests, or you get requests, and you send them to us, we put those roads on that list. And that is where we pull our projects from that go into the 6-year plan. If y'all remember, you know, we typically, when we get new requests, they are prioritized. They're prioritized by the board, which in the past has been pretty much, you know, first come, first served, so to speak. But I know that last year we made some adjustments to, we changed the priority a little bit on Gulleysville Road, So, yes, if you have requests that that have not been made, please send them to me or to Candy. And what I will do, I will get that list out in front of you all well before the public hearing. That way you have a chance to refresh in your mind what's on that list and where you might want to be at.
And if you find yourself up North Fork area between now and then, if you could just take a look at Bradley Lane and Spy Run Gap. They're seeing more traffic and a lot of wear and tear on that.
Mr. Chairman, I think what staff would like to do is get that list from Mr. Brown and include that in the April board packet for you all.
Discuss it in April.
And discuss it in April, and that way, when you authorize the public hearing, you're authorizing that list to be published. So I think that's the process on that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Anybody have anything else for Mr. Brown?
Mr. Barton had requested some VDOT to look at Finley Gap Drive in reference to the Sturt property. And I was wondering if I could get my hands on that information, on what you all came up with, how much it would cost, all of those little things.
Well,
You don't have to recall it now, but I would love an email version.
you're my Finley Gap Road,
Well, it's Finley Gap Drive,
Drive. Yeah, the 42 where.
the little path essentially that
Yeah.
goes from Keys Stretch to Norwood.
We have not done a complete estimate. I mean, we went up there and looked at it and did some assessment. But we have not inventoried the assets to see what would have to be replaced. The biggest thing up there was what to do with the stream boards. But we could certainly get into that again, Ms. Lee.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, sir. And
Thank you.
next up, we have, sticking with VDOT, we have Smart Scale Pre-Application. Carson, join us. Welcome.
How you all doing today?
And all right, thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to present to the board. My name is Carson. I am a district planner for VDOT. I started May of last year, so this is my first time presenting to you all. It's nice to meet you, and I'm ready to explain 151 study and Smart Scale. So, update on 151. The second public input meeting was held November 1st. Generally, it was very well received. Feedback from the public, they were all supportive of the alternatives we pushed forward for the study. That feedback will help us form a basis for what we're going to be submitting this round of Smart Scale. For the public input survey, period ran from around December to January. There was around 800 participants and over 1,000 comments on the survey and 7,000 responses, over 7,000 responses to the questions. So after the next steps for that public survey, we'll be refining the alternatives, and these alternatives will be pushed into this round of Smart Scale, and then detailing those estimates and the sketches, and then the final study should be done, hopefully coming soon. So the first intersection that we're going to be submitting for this round of Smart Scale is going to be Route 151 in Tanbark. This is the roundabout alternative, as that was the one that was well received from the public. As you can see, there is V-Trans support on the bottom right. It's a safety intersection. There's also transit access, and it's ranked 115 for the PSI ranking, which is essentially a potential for safety improvement. If it has a PSI ranking, that means VDOT and OIB, there is a need for there to be an improvement there. And that is the preliminary concept sketch of what Route 151 and Tanbark Drive, the roundabout, will look like. Now, that will be more refined during the Smart Scale period, but that is the preliminary sketch of what the roundabout is going to look like. Up next is Route 151 in Mill Lane. As you can see, that one is also has V-Trans support, but it does not have PSI points at that intersection. So it's an access management, that's a problem for the intersection. And there's also site distance concerns with the other two intersections as well. So the solution will be to add a northbound left turn lane. And this is what the intersection will look like with the left turn lane added in. And again, that is preliminary. By the time of the end of Smart Scale, there will be an updated cost estimate as well as updated project sketch. Now finally, we have Route 151 and Rockfish School Lane. This one does not have V-Trans support, but I was speaking with Rick Youngblood, my supervisor, and we came to the conclusion that we can push this into Smart Scale due to the fact that it is a part of the Route 151 corridor study. OIB might try to fight it, however, I feel my personal methodology is if it's a problem intersection, might as well put it in there, see if it scores well, and hopefully it will. It has the need from the corridor study, and there's the improvement of the right turn lanes. And so, summary for round 6 of Smart Scale, it's going to be a little bit different than previous rounds. This round has a heavy emphasis on internal review and validation from VDOT and DRPT. So for any projects that are put into the Smart Scale system this round, the data must be up to date for that internal review process. If you're using data that is old, our internal departments within VDOT, it's going to be hard to check off that submission and say it'll pass through if the data is not current. And then for an upcoming schedule for Smart Scale, March 1st is when the pre-app period opens, and it closes April 1st. And then full application opens and closes August 1st. And July 15th, that's an important date for the applicants. That's when all supporting documentation must be due for that period of Smart Scale. And then if you guys have any questions later past the presentation, please don't hesitate to email me or call me on my cell phone, my work phone. I'll be glad to answer. And also Rick Youngblood's also open for communication as well. Do you guys have any questions?
Anybody?
Yeah, so can you go back to the schedule of the pre-app application?
Yes, sir.
So you can see that pre-apps close in, like 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
How important is it that we get something in during the pre-app?
Projects have to be put in through the pre-app stage.
Are these put in automatically?
No, they'll have to be done through either the TJPDC or the Nelson County Planner. Right now, it's being done through the TJPDC. They're going to be submitting projects on behalf of Nelson County.
Okay.
And so this, as I said, this round of Smart Scale is a little bit different. OIB's putting more harsh deadlines on the process. So these gates, these internal readiness gates that they're putting in for Smart Scale, it's more data and internal review that's done from OIB, DRPT, and VDOT.
So if those 3 intersections that you flagged are are to be in here, we have to have TJPDC make the application.
Yes, so right now, Tambark's already in the portal, and we're going to be meeting with the TJPDC and Nelson County planners next week on the 15th halfway point, and we're going to be discussing the other 2 submissions.
And what are the other 2?
They were Mill Lane and Rockfish School. And that's a simple right turn lane on both Rockfish and 151, and Mill Lane is a left turn lane from Rockfish onto Mill Lane.
What do they hope to do with these?
So they hope to help reduce crashes. There's a lot of rear ends on 151 due to the fact that you have to stop and turn onto Mill Lane. The hope is that it will reduce the crashes as well as the roundabout will reduce speed on that corridor.
Where are you getting your information on accidents?
That was from our consultants doing the study.
Have they ever been out here?
They were here for the public input meeting, yes.
I don't think the information is valid.
Are there any other questions?
Anybody else have anything? Anything else?
Well, they're just kind of brushing it on through is what they're doing.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, everyone.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just note that since we do have hopefully some budget work sessions coming up between now and when the pre-application portal closes, if we need to have any further discussions about these pre-applications, we can do so at one of those
During a
meetings.
budget session?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, moving on. Next, we have Parks and Rec, upcoming projects. Jerry West.
Hello again, Board. I'm here today to go over a few big projects, special projects that we have upcoming through the Parks and Recreation Department. I did fail to get a picture up on beautiful new screen, but all that information can be found on our Parks and Recreation page of the Nelson County-va.gov site. And you go to Parks and Recreation, all the information and donation links can be found there. We'll start off with our Cover the Caboose campaign that we have going on. Both of these projects did just get launched within the last week or two, so they are very new and in the early phases of the fundraising process. Nelson County Parks and Recreation has teamed up with Fleetwood Harmony Masonic Lodge number 92 to raise funds to construct a cover over the historic Piney River Caboose. The caboose sits at the Piney River Trailhead of the Virginia Blue Ridge Railway Trail. It has been used in the area for many years before being decommissioned in 1960 to make way for newer steel bay window cabooses. In the 2010s, Nelson native, the late Ted Hughes, sought after the caboose where it had been setting in Rapidan, Virginia, to return it to its glory and be placed along the now Virginia Blue Ridge Railway Trail, adjacent to the Piney River Depot building. Mr. Hughes, along with many friends, completed the restoration of the caboose in its current location during 2019. It is the goal of Nelson County Parks and Recreation to minimize weather wear to the caboose by constructing a permanent structure of the caboose, which will help preserve it and extend the pristine lifespan made possible by Mr. Hughes and his crew. Donations can be made to the Fleetwood Harmony Masonic Lodge in the form of cash, check, or online by card. Please indicate Cover the Caboose with all donations. The donation tiers for this campaign are as it goes, of the following. $100 donations will be called the Brakeman donation. You'll receive a limited edition PRVA sticker available only to CTC sponsors. $250, which we're calling the conductor level. You'll receive the limited edition sticker along with a name on a plaque. $500, we're calling the Iron Horse, and you'll receive the sticker, name on the plaque, and 2 tickets to the completion reception where you'll also receive an engraved glass, or two engraved glasses. The $1,000 donors we're calling the Club 1914, which is the year that the Virginia Blue Ridge Railway Trail first started service. And those will receive a sticker, plaque, and 4 tickets to the reception and 4 engraved glasses. Each ticket to the reception will also have the glass. Corporate sponsors will have the opportunity to have their logo on a banner displayed at the reception and will remain at the trail for 12 months following the reception. All donors of $100 or more will be on a plaque that will be permanently displayed at the site of the caboose. So that is our Cover the Caboose campaign. And next we have the Blue Ridge Tunnel Western Portal Stone. The Crozet Tunnel Foundation has kicked off a fundraising campaign to return and display the Western Portal Stone to the western trail of the Blue Ridge Tunnel Trail. This 2-piece portal stone or plaque once filled the now empty space you see at the highest point of the Western Portal entry arch. It features the names of public figures important to the tunnel's planning and completion in the 1850s. The Western Portal Stone was placed in the early 1900s, well after the tunnel was first built in the 1850s. However, historic photos tell us the plaque was likely broken into several pieces almost immediately after installation. The stone was removed from the tunnel around 1970 and moved to VMI, where it was planned to be permanently displayed in a ceremony during their Founders Day program that year. However, plans fell through when a Mr. Albert Sinkoff, the CEO of the CNO Railroad Public Affairs Manager, fell ill and the ceremony was canceled. The stones have been sitting on the pallet of VMI ever since that ceremony was canceled. The VMI Historic Museum has agreed to give the portal stones back to the Blue Ridge Tunnel Foundation and to Nelson County to be permanently displayed outside the Western Portal. While all monetary donations are welcome, donors of $1,000 and above will receive a custom engraved brick that will be incorporated into the interpretive display of the portal stones. And financial supporters who contribute $2,500 will also receive the brick, as well as 2 VIP passes to a private unveiling ceremony followed by a reception at local venues. Please support both of these campaigns. And like I said at the beginning, for more information, you can go to our Nelson County Parks Recreation website on the .gov Nelson County site. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Jerry? Very good. Thank you. All right, next we have FY '25 budget introduction and proposed schedule.
All right, good afternoon, and first off, I want to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Bain's comments under the public comment section, and agree that those are the tenets by which we try to work within when we do develop the budget and finally approve a budget for Nelson County. Secondly, I would like to thank all of our departments and also constitutional offices for their budget submissions, which embody their hopes and their wishes for the next fiscal year, while keeping in mind the greater picture and the county's overall responsibilities. Additionally, I'd like to thank our finance department and county admin staff for their hard work in getting this budget ready. This is a snapshot in time. It is a starting point for us, and I look forward to working with you all going forward. So without further ado, I will run through the revenue side of the budget, and Ms. Satan's here to discuss the expenditure side. So we do have a balanced budget where revenues equal expenditures at $49,487,653. We have not included any changes in tax rates or fees in the current budget. Our tax rates are 65 cents per $100 of value for real estate and mobile home taxes. Currently, the 100% value of a penny in real estate is equal to $321,707. Our personal property tax rate is $2.79 per $100 of value. Machinery and tools tax rate, $1.25 per $100 of value. And our transient occupancy tax rate is now 7% as of July 1st, 2024. I'd like to note that the high school renovation and social services building project bond anticipation note proceeds and associated expenditures have not yet been incorporated into the budget. This table here compares our FY24 amended budget to our FY25 estimated budget, and also compares our FY24 projected budget to the FY25 estimated budget. The bottom row shows the total, the percentage change for the amended budget as compared to the FY25 proposed budget is a minus 4.4%. And as compared to our projected budget, it is a minus 7.09%. And we will get into some of the details as to what's driving these changes here shortly. Okay. To start, we have a slight increase of 1.39% in real estate taxes. That's expected due to natural growth. It's about a $285,390 positive change. Again, the value of the FY20 penny in real estate tax at 100% collection is $321,707. We are predicting a decrease of 22.7% in public service tax, expected due to a decrease in the assessed values of public service corporations, including rolling stock. This is a decrease between tax year 2022 and 2023 of about $295,291. We are estimating a decrease of about 1.2% in personal property taxes. This is due to a decline in overall vehicle values from tax year 2023 to 2024. This is comparing the personal property book as of March 7th relative to last year's at April 17th. So that's showing a decrease of about $72,000. I did include $100,000 in tax revenue to the anticipated revenues for some increase between now and April. Our 2025 tax year personal property taxes are estimated, including an increase of about 1%. Our local sales and use taxes are included at no change and have not yet been provided by the state. We should be receiving this sometime this month. We're showing an increase in meals and lodging taxes of about 17.7% collectively and 26%, 17.7% for meals tax and 26% for lodging tax is expected, for a total increase of $707,026. Our FY24 meals tax projections are higher than budgeted, and the lodging tax rate was increased from 5% to 7% effective July 1. A 10% reduction factor has been applied to the anticipated TOT collections to allow for a possible decline in short-term rentals or overall bookings. Our meals tax increase is projected to be $239,000, and the lodging tax increase is projected to be $468,000. We're also projecting an increase in building permit fees of about 26.3%, which equates to about $73,000. This has been anticipated by the Building Inspections Department. We expect a significant increase in interest earnings of 169.2%, and that is comparing FY25 to the amended budget of FY24. So in FY25, we're estimating $1.3 million in interest earnings, and in FY24, we estimated $500,000. So that was a low budget estimate in FY24, and the inflationary economic conditions precipitating the persistence of higher interest rates over the past year yielded about an $845,860 increase in revenue. The FY24 projection for interest earnings is, like I said, $1.3 million, which is slightly higher by 2.06% than the estimated for FY25. These rates are expected to maintain at current levels or drop slightly over the next year. So we've shown a decrease of about 2.06% or $27,750. In terms of state revenue compared to FY24 amended budget, we're showing a 3.7% increase in salary and benefit reimbursements from the state compensation board, and that's for their proportionate share of covered positions, which are included and includes a full year of the 2% salary increase provided in December of 2023. The General Assembly's recommended budget contains a 3% salary increase for state-supported local offices. The state reimbursement for the salary increase is to be determined, but will offset an associated increase on the expenditure side to some degree. We have a 6% increase in state reimbursements for expenditures related to the Children's Services Act of about $78,000. The state share of these expenditures is 68.68%, and the local share is 31.32%. We've also included an increase of 3.9% in reimbursement for Department of Social Services costs. This is due to a higher level of staffing expected in FY25 of approximately $40,000. The non-local portion of their budget is funded by 40% state funds. The General Assembly's recommended budget again contains a 3% salary increase for state-supported local offices, such as the Department of Social Services. And the state reimbursement for this salary increase is still to be determined and will offset the associated increase in expenditures to some degree. Other categorical aid from the state includes grants received during the year, which fluctuates between fiscal years. These include fire funds, for life funds, state appropriated project funds, tourism and economic development grants, Library of Virginia grants, and the Sheriff's Department grants, which at the beginning of the new fiscal year in FY25 show a decrease of almost 75%, or $579,357. These grants are appropriated within the budget when awarded or received. terms of federal revenue, we are expecting a significant reduction of 22.2% in ARPA grant funds from FY24 to FY25. This is a decrease of about $424,000. We are expecting a 5.9% increase in reimbursement for the Department of Social Services costs due to higher overall expenditures related to an anticipated higher level of staffing. And we expect this to be around $60,000. The non-local portion of their budget is funded by 60% federal funds. Our other revenues compared to the FY24 budget have decreased from last fiscal year, about 46.53%, which equals $3.1 million. This is primarily because FY24 utilized a higher level of year-ending balance or carryover funds, consisting of $2.8 million in ARPA funds that were carried forward for the Nelson County High School roof project. Also included $2.6 million in capital outlay and funding of about $400,000 non-recurring contingency, plus other appropriations throughout the fiscal year. Additionally, the Broadband Authority transferred $300,000 to the general fund during FY24, which is not being utilized in this fiscal year to date and is carried forward to FY25. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the FY25 year-ending balance composition, which is basically our FY24 revenues over expenditures. We have year-ending balance of $3,577,427. And this is composed of $1.5 million in FY24 net expenditure savings, which are anticipated, including departmental operations savings of $381,000, non-departmental operations savings of $291,000, unspent capital outlay of about $64,000, decrease in capital projects about $149,570, and decrease in contingencies of $648,054. We also had a net revenue increase of about $1.5 million in FY24. This is comprised of local funding of $1.1 million, primarily consisting of recordation tax, meals tax, court fines, and interest earnings that were higher than anticipated. We had state revenues that were about $20,000 higher than anticipated, and federal revenues of about $11,000 higher than anticipated. Our other funds of $291,523 include insurance recoveries, canceled checks, and it also includes that transfer from the Broadband Authority. So on the expenditure side, the FY25 year-ending balance is utilized as follows. We'll get into more detail about that during our work sessions, but these funds are the balance of ARP funds from the NCHS roof project. These can be used with no restrictions. It also funds the capital outlay expenditures as proposed and carry forward of unspent FY24 miscellaneous funds, non-recurring costs, and non-recurring contingency. Additionally, $350,000 in fund balance is proposed to be used for replacement of the Piney River pump station. So that concludes my review of the revenues. Do you all want to proceed to expenditures, or would you rather ask questions about revenues at this point, or?
I have revenue questions before I forget. Looking at the transient occupancy number, I know you mentioned it was 10%. I was trying to remember at that time, what was the original number that the board anticipated when they approved it?
Oh gosh.
I mean, I hate to make it dig. I thought it was like 700,000.
That sounds close. I'd have to look that up. I
That's
can't
okay.
answer that right this second.
No problem.
Apologize.
Further than that, this has been something that I have discussed with Commissioner Revenue as well as some other entities that are in that transient meals and lodging kind of economy that we have here in Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
I think something that would be helpful, and I haven't taken the time to make the spreadsheet yet, is similar to an electric bill where you get to see year to year, what January usage was versus January of this year. I think it would be good for the board to be able to use that, because since we are those revenue sources that the county has are very much economically driven. In the event there's a downturn, in the event there's a lack of consumer confidence, I think it would be good for us, especially going into budgets, to see what that looks like year over year. Now, some of that is an enforcement mechanism, because that changed a lot since platforms were forced to make some of those contributions. However, I think going forward, it would be good for the board to kind of get an idea of what that looks like in a kind of a constant fashion, just because it is a big indicator, because if all of a sudden people are not consuming our products, that leads to other concerns that we could have, so that's just something I'd like to add into that. However, I can assist with the spreadsheet, I can do that, so,
Okay.
thank you.
I think it would be, what you're saying would be more meaningful going forward.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're gonna have
It's not gonna be much,
meaningful data prior to
yeah,
the
because of
pandemic
the
per se.
change in enforcement and all that, but
Yeah.
I think that would be a very good indicator that we as a board have. It's a metric,
Right.
You look at your accounts receivable and accounts payable and you say, wow, our receivable went down 30% last month, why? And we can point at certain factors, whether that's a business entity that's not performing the same or whatever it may be. I just think that would be valuable.
Okay, we can definitely work on that.
Any other questions on revenue?
Okay, I will turn it over to Ms. Staton for expenditures.
Good afternoon, board members and chair. As Candy started off, she was telling us about the revenues, and the decrease in revenues for the year are obviously equivalent with the decreases in general expenditures for the year of the 4.4% in this new balanced budget for '25. One of the items that we are looking at for increased changes in FY '25 that were presented by the departments are new positions. There have been 2 full-time positions requested, one being an assistant director of special projects for tourism and economic development, and the salary and benefits for that position would be $82,417 as projected. There's also in the DSS department a family services specialist for senior worker, and the salary and benefits for that position would be $79,143. Our local match portion of that being $60,149, the other being state reimbursed. That we are also proposing a 2% cost of living increase to salary and benefits for full-time and part-time employees, and the cost of that for the coming year would equal $176,716, and of course, that does include the benefits, remember. When we had the pay study back in 2022, when it began, and we implemented that pay study this past July 1st of 2023, the board had elected to implement 2 portions, but not the third portion of that pay study, and that third portion is an equity adjustment of the salaries and benefits for the individuals who had longevity in recognition of their years of service, so that the new people being hired in the positions equivalent to theirs would not be making the same as the person who had supposedly been here for 2, 3, 5 years. So implementing that portion, that last portion of the pay study, would be a total of $76,768, including the benefits. This year, we have been notified that our health insurance will be having an 11% increase. And that would be for, currently we carry the Key Advantage 500 and Key Advantage 250 plans. And we have placed in our budget a placeholder of sorts, since we do not know the exact number of this before we know the numbers of employees. We've allocated $90,000 in our budget to take care of that increased cost for employer side. We have put together an option to add a high deductible health plan in addition to these existing 2 plans, Key Advantage plans, in order to offer lower rates for employees and county. Overall, our VRS employer contribution rate will be decreasing in FY '25 from 11.47% to 10.77%. And our short-term disability rates through VRS will be decreasing from 0.85% rather, to 0.74%. And then lastly, we have earmarked $15,669 for the estimated increase in workers' comp premium, and that also is to be determined. Some of the driving factors of the expenditures. Overall, we have experienced incremental increases in costs for utilities, fuel, mileage, postage, telecommunications, maintenance service contracts, repairs and maintenance, and equipment. In essence, everywhere. We are currently coming into the second year of the adult drug court expenditures. The second year of that grant is grant year number 2 of 4. There's a total of 4 years that have been allocated to that. And this grant is being handled at the direction of the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. And this second year funding for that is $171,794. Regional jail operations have increased for the coming year at $229,018. And this includes this increase also is $31.740 in debt service for the bond anticipation note that's issued to cover the architectural and engineering services related to the renovation project of the jail. And the county's portion is determined by the 5-year average census. And our census increased and has increased from 14.74% in FY '24 to 15.87% upcoming for FY '25. And so the 5-year average census, as I said, determines our percentage share for each of the members in the jurisdictions for the jail. The paid EMS increase is $216,709. This includes the additional $195,000 that is required in salaries and benefits due to transitioning to the 24/7 shift scheduling changes presented to the board at the January 9th meeting in 2024 by Curtis Sheets. If you all recall, they're looking to change from a 24/48 shift to a 24/72. And what that means is each worker works 24 hours straight and then is off for 72 hours, whereas now they work 24 straight and then they're off for 48. And this new shift, they're hoping, will help them not only recruit new members, but also retain current employees and help them in the longevity of retention. That also is included in the $216,609 is $25,000 rather for increased mileage costs, $15,000 for increased medical supply costs, and $10,000 for repair and maintenance cost of the older transport units. And just as a note, one option for helping in the potential increase of revenue recovery is to offset those costs with increased transportation rates. It's something we can talk about during the work sessions. Capital outlay of $2.2 million is covered by carryover from funds from the year-end balance. And again, as Candy said, the year-end balance is from the revenues being greater than the expenditures of the current year. And that includes $391,000 for emergency service vehicles, $256,000 for 4 law enforcement vehicles, $40,000 for a motor pool vehicle, $72,500 for a county emergency response vehicle, just under $293,000 for Internet Technologies microwave network upgrade, and this is the replacement of 8 antennas. $196,000 to improve emergency services radio communications with Rent-A-Green, and $260,000 to replace transfer station tipping floor. $140,000 for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and $151,000 to replace voting machine equipment. In the agency budgets, we have level funding for most of the requests that came in, with exceptions being the Jefferson Memorial Regional Library, Nelson Emergency Services Council, and the Community Investment Collaborative. The transfer to debt service will be $3.9 million, just over that, and that includes the $610,000 towards the county's debt capacity building strategy that was not included in FY24. Level funding for school nurses is to be determined by a formal request pending from the school division. Level funding and operational budget for school division from last year's amount of $18,379,837, with additional requests to be determined once the state budget is resolved and the schools again submit a formal request. The county's ARPA, or the, I had it in my head a second ago. Thank you. That's the little voice in the back of my head back here. The American Rescue Plan Act, there we go. Carryover funds of $128,138. This is the balance of the funds that were not required in the Nelson County roof project. And as you recall, we had set aside the entire part of the county's remaining ARPA funds from FY23 to fund the roof project for the schools, and they managed to get it in that far under budget. So we've got $128,000 left from that. There is an increase to the transfer, in the transfer to the VPA or Social Services Department fund for $79,000 for the additional cost to add that family services specialist for senior worker position. And again, the local match is $60,149. And there'll be a transfer to reassessment fund of $100,000 for the next reassessment. And of course, anything that's listed here is exclusively up to the board's approval, and this is just a starting point, as Candy said. We are currently projecting a recurring contingency balance this year of $482,693. A non-recurring contingency balance of $441,288, and the total of all contingency funds for FY25 to be available at $923,981. Are there any questions that anyone has at this time?
Questions?
Mine's more the scheduling of the budget sessions than anything else.
Anyone have questions at this point? I know it's fresh and new. Thank you all for presentations.
You're welcome.
One quick one, sorry.
Sure.
Obviously, the state budget's still not completed, is my understanding. The governor's sending lots of amendments. Do we have a speculative difference in funding for the school system?
There are like 3 different
Yeah, it's like
options.
1.8, 2.4, and like 2.6, something like that.
Yes. That's
So
correct.
somewhere between there, between
Somewhere
1.8
between
and
1.8 and
2.6.
2.6. And
Gotcha.
that's a pretty wide range at this point. So once we get a little better understanding of maybe where it's leaning towards, we have
Got it.
more ability to act upon that.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Okay?
One thing I'd like to add is that our staff is really trying diligently to be, I don't know, more proactive versus reactive when it comes to maintaining our assets. So you may see that reflected a little bit in our expenditure budget in terms of a little bit higher maintenance contracts, some higher repairs and maintenance costs. We feel like some money spent on the front end to do that would save us some money in the long run. So just wanted to point that out, that that is a mindset that we've had in building some of these expenditure numbers. So I would love if we could look at the proposed calendar and see when we could set up our first, at least our first work session, then we can go from there, or we could set up a couple.
it would be my preference if we could set a couple so that I could then schedule around it.
Yeah.
If we could get at least 2 on the schedule. And so the budget work sessions, I guess you're proposing is the 13th, 14th, and 15th.
As in tomorrow?
Well, no, this is a range.
Okay.
These are just optional dates, not, no, it's not.
Okay.
Just showing some options, because we do have some staff obligations
18th through 22nd.
coming up where we're not available, so I just wanted to make sure those were noted here.
I mean, I'm out the 13th and 14th, but I am available the 15th. I don't know. I mean, if we need one this week, I can only do the 15th.
And this is at 3 or
3.
what time?
Well,
It can
we
be
can-
whenever
whatever
you
we
all
want.
decide.
yeah.
I do personally advocate if we're gonna lose a day, let's lose a day.
Yeah.
Because it's our, save the morning, lose the afternoon. Like that's, if I'm gonna work, I need at least the first 5 hours.
Yeah.
So you prefer afternoon?
It's either all afternoon or all day, is my preference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
can
March
agree with that.
15th would be this Friday.
I am fine with doing the 15th afternoon.
Yeah, I'm open. Is anybody not?
You have the VDOT TJPDC meeting that day about smart scale pre-apps?
What time?
Oh, I did not have that on my calendar.
Yeah,
at this
I don't
point.
know, I just heard about
We
it.
did, we did mention the 15th.
He did mention
Yeah.
15th, yes. I think it's primarily gonna be planning staff and TJPDC. I don't necessarily have to be on that call.
Okay.
They can fill me in.
Okay.
Okay. I would enjoy attending that meeting if it's possible.
Yeah, that's fair. That's reasonable.
Okay, I have not received an invite to it, I don't think.
Okay.
I will do.
Okay, well, let's schedule it, and then we can plan that one around it.
Okay.
Okay,
So what are we saying?
15th out there, 15th
Afternoon?
in.
What are we doing?
Are you okay with 15th still, Ernie?
Yep.
I say we do like 1 o'clock
Yeah, I can do that.
after lunch, and then we see how long we want to go.
Yep.
Okay. All right, one thing I would like to note that, let's see, it's noted on the schedule in blue. If any decisions are made to authorize any tax increases, we would have to authorize the public hearing before March 25th, so that it can be properly advertised for an April 11th public hearing.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind as well, when we're looking at future dates.
Mr. Chair, can we add one more date in the week of the 18th?
Yep. Tuesday's bad.
We have the comp plan public hearing on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Right.
I don't want to do anything that day. How about Thursday?
Thursday's wide open so far. 21st.
21st, or I can do that Friday or Thursday.
Friday, there's an event at the library. but-
Okay, that's
I
right.
sort of work all week next week.
You work all week then? Me too. What is your, so,
Do you have a day next week that's,
what,
I'm there from 8 to 7 every day
okay.
next week. But,
I mean, if necessary, we could look at the week of the 25th and do 2 sessions.
March 25th would be the last day to decide on any increase in tax rates.
Okay,
Just keep that in
yeah.
mind.
All right.
so right now we have half a day?
Yeah, we got half a day. We need we need a full day
Yeah.
of something so that we can get to that point, I would speculate. Jessica, is there a day you might think you might be able to figure out?
text them.
Okay.
If we could do either the 18th or the 21st, if you could fit either of those.
Yeah, I
in.
think 18th or 21st is
Yeah.
good.
And we could do the 22nd. I just think it would be nice if we took a break, went up to the library for Susan Huffman's
Yeah.
That's
retirement.
at 2.
2
That's at
o'clock.
2. Well, we could do that.
I mean, we could do Friday, take a break, go up
I
there.
say we do Friday all day.
But I mean,
Do you want to allow
Fridays.
any wiggle room before the 25th? Or are we going to try to just have a long day of it on the 25th?
right now, no pressure, not pointing any fingers, but
It's up to
It's
you.
up to you.
Let us
Jessica.
know, Jessica,
You know, whatever you can work out
So
next
an
week.
all-day,
We can advocate for that for you, we definitely need at least, I would say, 3 work sessions before we get,
Yeah, a
To
couple
vote
of
on.
half-days would be.
I mean,
Yeah.
half-days would be easier.
would you wanna do a half day on the 28th, or the 18th or 22nd?
Yeah, or are you advocating for both of those days,
I-
half-days?
I don't care, that's fine with me.
Are you
Mr. Chair,
okay
We
with
could,
that?
we could use 2 good half-days, either 18th, 21st, 22nd, or the 3 options. If we could get 2 of those,
I'm fine with all 3.
same.
Me too.
I would say the Monday and the Friday would be better.
All right, so you wanna
Let's
do
just go ahead and
afternoons?
plan, put in the 18th.
And the 22nd.
Okay, from
And-
1 PM
Yeah, I'd say 1 PM. That works good.
for both? Okay. All right, so I'm hearing 1 PM on March 15th, 1 PM on March 18th, and 1 PM on March 22nd
Yes.
Just
for now.
keep in mind, the retirement is at 2 o'clock on the 22nd.
All right.
Okay. Do you want to start like at 3?
Or we can do earlier on Friday.
I would rather do, can you do a morning on Friday? I mean, I would rather do the Friday
Either
session.
way, this is gonna be hard, so.
I know,
Let's-
exactly.
let's
It's
do
like,
it- let's do it
what sucks
9:30
the
to
least?
Let's do like a 9:30 to 12.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Then maybe we could grab lunch, we could go to,
Yeah, and if we
Retirement
wanna
thing and be
continue the meeting, we could decide by the time we get to the end.
and we still have until 2 o'clock if we need to,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. All
And
right,
if
so
we have some
9:30
really
a.m.
productive meetings, we'll be able
on
to
March
scale it back.
Cancel, yeah, exactly.
And these we can always modify.
Right.
9:30.
All right, so what did we just do? 15, 18, 22?
15 and 18 at 1 PM and 22 at 9:30.
9:30. They work for you? You retired, you don't care.
All right.
Yes?
Good? Okay. Yes, so I want to note one of the first things we'll need to discuss is probably our health insurance renewal, so we'll be presenting those options
High
to you
deductible
all.
option sounds like a good addition.
Oh,
I think it's a good addition, it gives a choice.
I don't know, is the question about that right now or at the thing? Every workplace I've been in that has the high deductible, the employer pays partially into the high deduct, or into the savings plan, so that sometimes isn't a savings
I see.
for the employer, if that makes sense.
Right, well, we would have the option to establish a health savings account, and you all could decide whether or not we contribute to it. Or we just set it up for the employees to contribute to themselves as a means of saving money for that deductible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some folks who would probably utilize that as a long-term investment for themselves. They would opt to get
It
the health
is-
savings
My
account.
accountant would call an HSA the best retirement plan of all time.
It's the try something another can.
Well, you can, after you hit 65, you can use that money for whatever you want.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think having that option for those who might be minded that way and have other alternatives might be advantageous.
Right. All right,
I think
if
we're
there are no more questions or anything related to the budget or the schedule, that's it for me.
Awesome. So 15th, 18th at 1, 22nd at 9:30.
Yes, and we'll start posting all of our budget information on the website as well, so
Okay.
people will be aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Bless you. All right, next, moving on to new and unfinished business. We have the Shipman Historic District Cost Share Grant Application. And that looks like Maureen. Maureen, welcome.
You received the update from me in your packet, and you all allocated $16,000 to the entire project, March, a year ago. And we finished the first phase. The ask today is to gain your permission to apply for a second cost share grant so that we can actually, the first phase completed what's called a preliminary information form and some survey work. The second phase will finish out the survey work. We may be able to add a few properties that were not included in that first round. And then actually, the consultant who was hired by the Department of Historic Resources will actually complete the nomination to the State and National Register of Historic Places for the Village of Shipman. And so, again, the request today is to actually apply for that cost share grant through the Department of Historic Resources.
Have we done this one in the past?
We've
I thought so.
We've got Livingston, Schuyler, Afton,
Well, I meant,
all of them.
I knew we did the Warminster appeal to
We
the
just finished
DHR.
that one.
Yeah. Did we get that one officially?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
I
it
know
has
we
to go
tried
to
a
state
couple.
board in June, but
Okay,
it's,
should actually make it this time. Good.
Let's do it.
Make a motion.
Yep, what's the pleasure of the board?
It's your district.
I move we do it now. Oh, it's on the page. Do what? Maybe.
do the last paragraph.
I think the board could do a formal vote, but I think just your concurrence to move forward,
All
or
right.
consensus to move forward, because the funding's already in place.
Ah, okay.
Thank you.
I say we move forward.
Great.
I agree.
Done.
Thank you.
Have at it. Thank you. Thank you, Candy. Next, we have comprehensive plan, planning commission's recommendations.
This almost doesn't feel real that we're getting to this point.
I know.
It's so good.
It's
I'm very excited. But yeah, that's what I'm here to say, is that we are wrapping up the comprehensive plan. The planning commission on January 31st had their public hearing at the high school. The plan is for, excuse me, the plan is for you guys to have your public hearing on the 20th at the high school. Right now, I'm just going over the planning commission's recommendations from their meeting on the 28th for approval of the draft comprehensive plan. You will still have another public hearing before you actually review and make your determination. So again, they conducted their public hearing on January 31st. On February 28th, they met at their regular meeting to review all of the comments and to make a recommendation to the board, including any recommended revisions or updates to the 2042 plan. So they did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the 2042 draft comprehensive plan with the following revisions and amendments. And we can go into some of these in more detail if you have any questions, but I'm just going to go through them. On page 32, table 3.1, they wanted to check the boxes for steep slopes and floodplain for Montebello. That was more just an oversight that they weren't checked. Pages 36 through 41, remove Montebello from rural destination and add to rural areas and conservation areas. That is more of a big step in the plan. We're taking Montebello out of rural destinations and then adding it to both rural areas and conservation areas. On page 41, in the description for Montebello, add references to Priest and Three Ridges Wilderness areas and access to primitive recreation. On page 149, under local assets, add the Priest and Three Ridges areas and the state fish hatchery. On page 67, indicate that railway runs through the county but doesn't currently serve its residents because it wasn't clear in the plan that there's no stops for the railroad within the county. On page 90, housing quality and maintenance, take out this section of sentence that says, and 37.9% of homes are considered vacant. This is relatively high compared to the statewide vacancy rate of 11%. The reason behind wanting to take that out is because that number is heavily influenced by wintergreen condos and residency. On page 171, the Tuckahoe Clubhouse, they changed it from serves as the community center for the wintergreen area to specifically say serves as the community center for wintergreen because it was unclear how many options or services they have available to the county in general that aren't wintergreen property owners. Page 172, we are going to take out that Centera does not offer dermatology, or we are going to include that they do not offer dermatology. Currently, it says that they do. Under glossary, we have a definition for easement, but to change that to say conservation easement, because that's more specifically what it is. Adding by right as a definition to the glossary, I think that'd be a very good move, because we don't have by right formally defined anywhere. And then adding strategy number 16 to page 50, which would be discourage the use of large-scale development in Montebello through zoning. And I think I have, yeah. And so those are all the revisions they're going to be adding. Your public hearing should be March 20th at the high school. And then you should be making your making your vote on April, what's that going to be, April 12th?
April 9th is the
April
April
9th?
meeting.
Okay, April 9th, potentially, yeah.
Potentially that meeting.
Potentially April 9th, yeah. Do you have any questions about the planning commission's recommendations?
Do we have a definition of by right?
So we currently do not have a definition of by right. We can come up with one, a staff recommended one for you. By right is it's a pretty well-known terminology in planning language. We can go to other localities and see if they have definitions for by right and maybe use some of theirs. But by right, essentially means this is a use that is permitted in this zone. By right, it's not something that you need any kind of special permission for. It's still something you need to get other agency approvals or do it a certain way, make sure you're meeting the definition of what you want to do. But the use in itself, your being allowed to do it, is not subjective by the board. No one's making a decision saying you can't do this because it doesn't suit the area. But having that nailed down into a definition that non-planners, people that don't work in planning and zoning, can see and understand, I think that would be great to add into the comprehensive plan and also into the zoning ordinance as well when we get there.
Any other questions or comments on the?
The only comment is when we get to the venue, I know there was, I spoke to a couple of planning commissioners about an echo that they were experiencing, so they had a hard time sometimes hearing the
At the high
odd.
school?
Yes. So I don't know what that might mean to us, because I'm sure the stage is used to projecting and not hearing themselves, so
Yeah,
I don't know what that.
Issues with the microphones at the high school is their microphones are not like this,
Yeah.
where you could still
Yeah.
hear me. You have to be on them
Yeah.
for them to hear you. So when I was doing the recording, doing the minutes back, I could hear everybody at the podium really well,
Yeah.
which was good because that was most of the meeting. But being able to hear the planning commissioners individually was difficult. I actually had a separate recording device on the table that I ended up using the audio from that one
Gotcha.
for them. But I don't know how bad it was further back in the crowd in the auditorium. Not many people, it was about 50 people, I think, showed up to that one.
I think it was mostly just the planning commissioners trying to hear the audience, so whatever we can do to improve that
Yeah.
when we get to our public hearing,
Okay,
that'd be helpful.
we'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right. Next report. We want to take a break.
Yes,
We
I
want
want
to
a
keep
break.
going. Yeah, that's what I thought too. We're going to take a brief 5-minute recess and we will reconvene and